Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. The feature race at beautiful Belmont Park on Saturday is the Grade 2 Mother Goose Stakes for 3-year-old fillies. It's a race you can play with a new DRF Bets account. Please sign up. Please access $100 in free cash. Learn more at drf.com/bet. Let's meet the 3-year-old fillies slated to go a 1-turn mile and a 16th at Belmont for $250,000 in the Mother Goose. We have a field of 7, 2 favorites and deservedly so, Matt. Let's begin with the number 2 Midnight Bisou, winner of the Santa Anita Oaks 2 starts back, a Grade 1 race at this distance. And in the Kentucky Oaks last time out, I thought she ran pretty well coming from the back of the pack to finish 3rd behind the streaking Monomoy Girl.
Agreed, especially considering how far wide she was spun off that far turn, about 8 paths off the rail. And then she came on with an honest run, flattened out a little bit at the end, but I'm not going to hold that race against her. She finished 3rd behind 2 good fillies, 2 talented fillies anyway. And you brought up Monomoy Girl. She came back to win next out. I believe it was the Acorn with the 98 buyer. So Midnight Bisou was the horse to beat. But the real question becomes, off of a little bit of a layoff, now she's with new connection. She's with Steve Asmussen. And considering the pace dynamic or possible lack thereof, does she have too many things working against her in this spot?
You mentioned the new barn. Here's a formulator fact regarding Steve Asmussen and new horses under his care. Here's the formulator fact for the number 2 Midnight Bisou. Past 5 years, 3-year-olds on dirt. First start after a trainer switch. That's 29% winners and a $2.56 ROI. In the Kentucky Oaks, she just couldn't get early position. She kind of got sandwiched a little bit, was in and among horses. You mentioned she was spun very wide turning into the stretch. I think all things considered, it was a very good effort. She has a lot of fast races on her page. You also mentioned the pace, and as we take a look at the pace, she might have to come from a little bit off it while spotting ground to her main contender, and that is the number 6 Road to Victory. Now, Road to Victory has been perfect, 3 for 3 in her career, and the only time she previously stepped on dirt, listen, she took down Monomoy Girl in the Golden Rod Stakes. It was a race where Monomoy Girl opened up what looked like an insurmountable lead at the 3/16 pole, and Road to Victory just would not lose.
Yeah, I think I could be wrong, but I believe she is the only horse to ever finish ahead of Monomoy Girl. So, I mean, that just goes to show this filly is talented. Now, it's a little bit of a concern it took her as long as it did to get back to the races. But I have to be honest, that Alley Wow, I liked what she did in that spot where she was mid-pack. She got shuffled a little bit going toward the rear, but when she tipped out into the clear, she finished really well. I have no knocks against her other than now you're going to have to prove that you can handle a girl the caliber of Midnight Bisou, second off the bench. Cassie has done tremendous with this move in the past year. Past year, turf to dirt, winner last out, sprint to route. Small sample size, but he's 3 for 3 with this over $17 ROI. And the tactical advantage, maybe that's enough to overcome.
As you see on the pace projector, they have Road to Victory out there on the lead, and on this stretch out, I wouldn't be surprised at all. If I'm Manny Franco, I go. Now, it was a shame she missed the end of her 2-year-old season, the beginning of her sophomore campaign with a little bit of an ankle issue, but as you mentioned in that Alley Wow, boy, that was visually impressive. The sky could be the limit for Road to Victory, and she could be in command of this thing turning into the stretch. There are some other horses in here with credentials, although they're going to have to step it up a little bit to beat the big 2. Let's talk about Geo Game a little bit. It was 3rd in the Acorn. No match for Monomoy Girl that day, although there really wasn't a ton of pace for her to run at. Monomoy Girl had a perfect trip getting the jump on her. I'm proud of this filly for getting a Grade 1 placing, but it's not like the waters get any easier. They actually get a little bit deeper against these 2 big 2.
Yeah, I agree with that, and she's the other Cassie in here. I guess the problem for her at this point in her career, okay, you're Grade 1 place, you're worth your weight in gold. She's not getting any faster, and that to me is a little bit of a concern. Through 8 lifetime starts, career best buyer of 88, and 88 simply not fast enough to win a race like this. I think you're looking at a low to a mid-90, and again, I kind of feel like a minor reward is her ceiling.
Couple other graded stakes winners we have to discuss. Right next door to Geo Game is the number 5, Coach Rocks, the winner of the Gulfstream Park Oaks. Just didn't fire in the Kentucky Oaks. Heck, she was bet down to 8-1 that day. And in the Black-Eyed Susan, I liked the tactics that they showed. Luis Saez was very aggressive, trying to get her out on the lead. He didn't want any of that slop getting kicked back in Coach Rocks' face. And all things considered, she ran pretty well. But where's her ceiling? It's been 10 starts and her best buyer is an 83. Can she get any better?
I don't know. I mean, look, if I'm saying that about Geo Game, I kind of have to echo the same sentiments about Coach Rocks. I will say, though, You brought up the way that she was ridden in that Black-Eyed Susan, mainly because of that racing surface. I go back to that maiden special weight score back at Gulfstream. That was in gate-to-wire fashion as well. In a race like this where it doesn't look like there's a ton of speed signed on, if I'm Robbie Alvarado, I want to be aggressive in there. And you know what? Let me look to the outside and say, Manny Franco, if you want the lead, you're going to have to work for it.
She's certainly versatile. That works for Coach Rocks. My Miss Lily, beautifully bred daughter of Tappet, winner of the Grade 2 Gazelle, going a 2-turn 9 furlongs aqueduct 2 starts back, thought she was on the best part of the track Wood Memorial Day on the outside to win that race. But that 92 buyer plays very well. You just have to basically say what happened in the Kentucky Oaks and somehow throw it out.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of the concern for me, that 92 at this point, and I know she's still lightly raced, but that's the anomaly at this point. The Oaks, you're going to have to just draw a line through it for whatever reason, and that Busher, I thought she was okay. She was a little bit unlucky with traffic, but again, from a speed figure standpoint, that just isn't fast enough to get it done. If she can get back to the Gazelle, she has a puncher's chance.
Ohio-bred Most Smart, the number 3, has done nothing wrong for trainer Todd Pletcher. On the contrary, she has won 2 starts by a combined 20.5 lengths. She deserves a chance against the big girls. Her buyer speed figures are a little bit light, but last time out she beat 2 next out winners, and the 4th place horse came back to win by 15 lengths with an 88 buyer.
Yeah, she's kind of an interesting X factor in here. If you think that there is a forward move, she's going to be facing the best horses of her career, no question about it. And her running style is going to be a little bit interesting to see. She sat just a little bit, going 2 turns for the first time. Now we go back to a 1-turn mile and a 16th. Again, I think she's probably one that can be forwardly placed. I personally think the water's a little bit too deep here, but I wouldn't be surprised if she outran her odds.
Not sure the number 1 Indy Union can win this race, but here's a formulator fact for folks that believe she could sneak into the number at a price. Jeremiah Engelhardt is 9 for 18 over the past 2 years, with 3-year-olds making their 3rd start of the form cycle in dirt routes with a $3.42 ROI. Indy Union, 3rd in the Black-Eyed Susan, but it was a really, really wet track. The race before that caught a runaway winner in the first start off a layoff. Maybe if the pace is a little bit faster than expected, she can get a minor award, and that'd be pretty good in a graded stake for these connections.
Yeah, you know, again, we talk about it so often. I know she's already great at stakes place, but a lot of it has to do with just getting black type, especially if you're not entirely convinced that you're as talented as the more likely winners in a race like this. I liked her in the Demoiselle. I thought the maiden score that she had back in October was strong, but the problem is, again, it doesn't feel like she's taken that necessary step forward to really be considered a top 3-year-old filly. Again, if they can get a minor award, I wonder if down the road, again, you look at the pedigree, distance to me is her friend, and maybe you get to Saratoga and you get out to a race like the Alabama at 1.25 miles. But for right now, I'm going to sit back and watch.
But you mentioned that maiden win. It was the last time she ran around 1 turn. It was at Belmont Park. Let's take a look at our top picks for the feature, the Grade 2 Mother Goose. I'm going Midnight Bizou. You're going Road to Victory. How do you attack this from a pick 4 standpoint? Do you just play both, figuring one of the two is likely to win? Or are you supposed to say, I'm going to take an opinion, I'm taking one or the other?
Well, I guess the problem with the idea of taking an opinion, and I understand anyone that wants to do that, but at the same time, I don't think you're looking at some sort of a giant difference between the two. I think they're going to be played equally as far as this race itself is concerned, as well as any multis. So I'm kind of the opinion saying, you know what? Those are the only 2 that I want. I think they're the 2 best horses in the race, and let's just move on to the next leg.
I'm with you. Matt's going with the 6, Road to Victory, undefeated thus far for Mark Casse. I'll go with the 2, Midnight Bizou, already a Grade 1 stakes winner, now under the very capable control of Steve Asmussen. 264 for me in the Grade 2 Mother Goose, a race you can play with your own DRF Bets account. Please sign up, get $100 in free cash. Learn more at drf.com/bet. Approximate post time for the Grade 2 Mother Goose, 5:18 Eastern on Saturday afternoon. Best of luck.